Hello everyone, my name is Preeti Tanty and my topic is public policy in a complex society beyond rational choice and instrumentalism. To begin with, public policy is generally understood as a rational and goal oriented process where policymakers identify problems and select solutions in a logical manner. In this view, decision making is assumed to follow a clear and systematic pattern. However, in contemporary times, society has become increasingly complex and constantly changing, with multiple actors, diverse interests, and evolving challenges. Therefore, it becomes important to question whether rational models alone are sufficient to explain how policies are actually made in practice. Moving on to the conceptual framework, rational choice theory assumes that individuals act logically and aim to maximize their benefits through cost benefit analysis. Similarly, instrumentalism views policy as a means or instrument to achieve predefined goals, with a strong focus on efficiency and optimal outcomes. As a result, public policy is often presented as a linear and technical process where the best possible solution can be identified through rational calculation. However, when we look at real world policymaking, several limitations become evident. First, as argued by Herbert Simon, decision makers operate under bounded rationality, which means they face limitations of information, time, and cognitive capacity. Because of this, they often settle for satisfactory solutions rather than the optimal ones. Secondly, policymaking involves multiple actors such as government, interest groups, and civil society who often have conflicting interests, making consensus difficult. Thirdly, there is a significant level of uncertainty, especially in complex issues like public health or environmental policy, where outcomes cannot be predicted with complete accuracy. Moreover, decisions are also shaped by values, belief, and political considerations which go beyond purely rational calculations. Therefore, policymaking becomes non-linear and context-dependent. In light of these limitations, it is necessary to move beyond instrumentalism. To begin with, Charles Lindblom explains that policies do not emerge from one comprehensive decision but rather develop through small gradual changes over time. In addition, interpretive approaches emphasize that policies are influenced by how problems are understood and framed, which means different perspectives can lead to different policy outcomes. Furthermore, the idea of network governance highlights that policy making today involves multiple actors beyond the state, including private organizations and civil society. Thus, policymaking should be understood as an interactive and evolving process rather than a fixed or purely technical one. To illustrate this, let us consider the example of COVID-19 policy responses. Although countries faced a similar global crisis, their responses differed significantly. Some countries prioritized economic activity while others focused more on strict public health measures. These differences were shaped by factors such as political priorities, institutional capacity, and levels of public trust. This clearly shows that policymaking is not purely technical but is deeply influenced by social and political context. Finally, to conclude, while rational choice and instrumentalism provide useful analytical framework, they are not sufficient to fully capture the complexity of policy making in contemporary society. Public policy should instead be understood as context dependent, evolving over time, shaped by multiple actors and values. Therefore, policymaking is best seen as a dynamic and evolving process rather than a purely rational and technical exercise. Thank you.